rush 4. Plenty of time for John. Now squeezes, steps up in the pocket. LA can run inside the 10. Head first. He dives off the 5-yard line.
65 horsepower trap. It might pop wide open, Rats.
It's in there!
Yes, sir, Rats. Nice going, baby. Yes, sir, Rats.
High snap. It's no good. The Here comes the rush. He sidesteps. Can he throw? He can't. The ball flipped forward as loose. A wild scramble. 2 seconds on the clock. Casper grabbing the ball. It is ruled a fumble. Casper is recovered in the end zone. The Oakland Raiders have scored on the most zany.
Hello and happy Wednesday and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. Down to the bottom of the screen here, you have Captain Jack. Captain, thank you for joining us. I know that you're going through, we'll call it some technical challenges within the home today. So thank you for coming.
Right. Yeah. In fact, I wanted to come on because I love you guys so much, because it's not a show without Coach and I just getting that love that we have to each other every day. But I wanted to let you know that I'm not even home yet. I pulled off on the side of the road in order to tell you that I am going home. And that, so I'm here right now because, again, love the show, but I might not make it to the fullness of the show. So I will try to come back on here again. If I have to use my phone and outside, I will. But yeah, I just wanted to let the audience know that it's not a real show without the old bastard in the studio with you. And even though I'm not at my my normal Raider self, I am here because that much of a stalwart, erudite, and urbane, and wonderful. God, do I sound so effing conceited? But I'm trying not to, because I enjoy hanging out with the Wild Wild West crew. So again, wanted to be here somewhat on time. So again, to all the people here, and I know I'm talking a lot, so.
Look like you're ready to body slam the Undertaker right now.
Got that Lou Albano look going. Just Lou Albano look going right now. I love it.
Well, actually, and the thing is, I just got through with a haircut and a beard trim, because you know how very large and in charge the beard was getting. So I needed to trim it down, and I can't get it as close cropped as Richie does, because again, it has to have at least this length to it, or it just looks like crap. But I think it looks good once it's trimmed.
Yeah, just put a
compliment there. Or?
Just put a rubber band on next time.
Yeah, what he's saying is I have a lumberjack beard, which basically means I can keep it about as short cropped as I want, and it still has a a volume to it. So right. No, I appreciate that.
No, and again, I used to do the Lou Albano look with the and by the way, don't ever use rubber bands, because rubber bands pull the hair. If you're going to do it, do the hair braids that are in the store, which I use for my ponytail. They don't grab your hair. I found out at a very early age, rubber bands are really a pain in the beard or hair. So I will never use them again. I will go and break out the extra, $1 or $3 and get the hair braids that you find in the store in the hair care section, because real men take care of their hair. Yes, they do.
Sound like an infomercial.
There you go.
Right. Did Troy Polamalu pay you for that?
Plug in.
No, but he probably. But remember, his cousin is on the Raiders, so hopefully that might be a thing that we will be using. That we can use when we go up into our things that we will talk about in a couple weeks. So again, it's because of my the fact that I wanted to hang out with you guys and kind of be on time, and that goes for everybody that's here the crew, along with everybody that's in the comment section. Sorry, folks, I can't see all your comments. So if you're ragging on me, that's great. If you're applauding me, that's great. I appreciate all the good things, but I can't see them until I get home.
I appreciate it. So just to kind of finish the rest of the roundtable intros of the hosts here, Coach Defense is over here to my right on the screen. And finally joining us again after a 1-week hiatus, can we all put our hands together for Alex Gibbons of Arrowhead Attic, who's now back with us. That's right. Thank you very much, Alex. Great for you to be back.
Yeah,
I'm glad your plane landed safely and all is right with the world now that we have 4 of us back on screen. Yeah. While we still have Captain here, I'd like to maybe get into the running back rooms, because I think that was what I know we've all been now waiting for and had prepped for. So I thought that would be a good first start so we can kind of get information out there and start getting right into the topics at hand. Captain, do you want to maybe kick us off while you're still able to stay with us?
Yeah, and again, I don't know whether you got your email, but I actually, just in case I couldn't come into the show, I did give you my listing, and now I actually got to find it because I can't remember what I do know. I do know that number 4 in the running back group was the running. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, see, yeah, bring it on, baby. It's the despicable Kansas City Chief running back crew. They are the worst of all of the AFC running backs that we have out there. And again, even Alex knows that in comparison, their running backs are just not the greatest when you look at the division as a whole.
I'd agree with that.
Okay.
You're not getting a fight from me here on that one.
No, I'm just saying, I'm just speaking the truth. And then number 3, and as we get to running backs that actually are capable, and this was tough because it was really what I would say would be they're like, and I'll admit my running backs are 1 and 1A, and so 3 is actually kind of 2. Because they are very capable, is the running backs that are in Denver right now. You know, they got a really good crew of running backs there, and they're young, and I think that they are very capable. And if they had a better offensive line, which again will be a segue for later, they'd probably be a lot more diverse or diametric or just diabolical there, since we're going to go with the triple D's there. But I say Denver is number 3, but they're up and coming. Number 1 and 1A, and I know Coach is leaning in on this. Okay. And Coach knows that I'm not a homer based upon the way that I've done things in the past. But I have 1A is the crew in San Diego or Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
Is that a US football team?
The San Angeles, if we're going from like the movie with
Demolition Man.
Yeah, there you go. The Demolition Man. The San Angeles Chargers are 1A, and they have a great running backs with Eckler. I think that the addition of Spiller is really going to be great for them. And I like what they've done, but I got to give it to the Raiders with Jacobs and Drake and the guys we picked up from the guys that we picked up from Jacobs and Drake and the guys that we picked up, and yeah, I got to do it now. I will leave it to you guys to bitch about it for a minute because I got to get off the screen, and I will be back later when we're ready to talk about the offensive line.
Okay.
It's time for you to come back too.
Exactly. Yeah, we got some things to talk about when it comes to that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll take it from you.
Okay.
Yeah, all right, you guys take care.
Have some words.
We're gonna. Yeah, I know we will. Now I just got to figure out how the hell to get out of here.
All right.
Oh, there it is. I'll see you guys later.
Big red button.
There you go. Exit. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I personally think there's some interesting takes in there. I don't know where you guys landed with it. I have to agree with
I'm not a homer. I like it how you led when I'm not a homer, but he gave the Raiders a number one.
Yeah, I'm not a homer, but my team's number one.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, like a good cheerleader.
like Carper said too. Yeah, their running back so good they didn't want to pick up his 5th-year option.
There you go.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So I mean, the one question ultimately that in case Captain can't come back in, and if he wants to rewatch and we can kind of have some dialogue on this, is, and I think we can all kind of discuss this as well. What general metrics, or is it a combination of metrics and eye tests did you guys use to come up with your rankings?
I mean, it always got to start with production. I don't care how nice you look. In a uniform, you can't produce on the field. It was none avoid at that point.
Sure.
Production along with style, and I guess you can say athletic ability will be I guess you can say a criteria that you can base it on for sure. But I would say got to be production. I mean, if you're not productive in either yards and touchdowns or both, and then if you're a dual threat, then that makes it even better of an argument to have if you have a dual threat running back that can both be lethal in the pass game and lethal in the run game. So that's a catalyst in the category that you have to add in your rankings. But yeah, if it starts and stops with production, if you're not productive, and I have to give a knock to Cap a little bit because although I think Josh Jacobs had been productive in spots, Kenyon Drake has not been productive at all. And then that also lends to the idea that them drafting Zamir White, with in the later rounds, kind of lends to the idea that they may be looking to go in a different direction. So you got if you're in flux in your room, you may be looking to do something different in your room with Josh McDaniels being the new head man because Jacobs is a Gruden and Mayock guy. So you have to ask yourself the question of whether or not they're going to have the same room come start of the regular season that they do right now.
Yeah, 100%. Alex, and also all of you who are joining us tonight live, thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. And anyone who's not able to join us live, we also appreciate it. Thank you for watching after the fact. Alex, for you and anyone else in the chat, as well as an open-ended question here, when you say production, and Alex, this is for you as well, are we talking yards? Are we talking yards per attempt? I mean, these are all some nuanced stats that we can kind of dig into if we so choose. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people, when they say production, mean yards. Would you agree with that? That is kind of the gold standard, yes or no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the gold standard for a running back production-wise is obviously at the end of the year the amount of yards. But I think more so teams and coaches look at yards per attempt. Because if you got a guy who's getting 4.2 yards a carry, I mean, why wouldn't you? You know that you can ride them to get a first down.
Right.
If you meanwhile, you got a guy that's averaging 2.8 or something aggressively lower than that, you always hear people talking about that and how they need to up their production and get better yards per attempt. So to me, that's kind of the biggest metric. And with what Coach said, thinking about the topics going into this, I took kind of the overall production from a rushing standpoint as well as like the depth of the room. And those are kind of the two biggest factors for my rankings with the AFC West teams.
Okay.
So where did you personally land then in terms of where your rankings kind of slid? Where did you land compared to Cap?
I did agree with Cap at number 4. I there. I mean, I think I say it every week, and you guys say, "Well, they don't run the ball, so what does it matter?" But I say that they need to get their running game in check and put more of a focus on a rushing attack than they have in the past couple years. And I think that we will see kind of a change of the guard, if you will, in KC with that. I think that's pretty evident by them bringing in Ronald Jones and bringing McKinnon back and drafting 2 running backs. And this is kind of a prove-it year for Hilaire. So I think there's a lot of potential for KC to kind of up their rep, so to speak, in running the ball. But, as it stands based off of what's on the roster now with the production of last year, they're, it's kind of hard to make a case for them not to be ranked last. And then 3, I put the Raiders just because I thought there was a clear difference in tiers when you compare the rushing attack of every team and the depth kind of across the board. Kind of opposite of, I guess, how Cap feels. I just don't think that, similar to Hilaire, I think it's a make it or break it year for Jacobs. It obviously is, so they didn't pick up his option, but the franchise as a whole doesn't think that he's their guy for the future. And Drake, doesn't really bring much to the table. That was kind of an aggressive Gruden signing and for no reason. And I just don't really think that's a very pivotal thing in the Raiders offense. You don't hear him talk about it. It's always Derek Carr. It's always the passing attack with Waller. You never hear him talk about Jacobs being a true, bell cow workhorse or anything like that. So that's, but they are better than the Chiefs. I'll give them that. So that's why they're 3. 2, I put the Chargers. And I don't like doing 1A or B. So I always want to think of what's the biggest difference. And to me, it was kind of the overall depth that Denver has with their rushing attack, because they kind of have a two-headed monster. I mean, Gordon and Williams almost rushed for 1,000 apiece last year. That's pretty good. And whereas LA, Eckler is a beast. He's a fantasy machine, but he only is if he stays healthy. And outside of last year, I feel like he goes in spurts of missing time, and you can tell that they don't really have much, behind him to kind of plug and keep the offense going, which I think they know that too by the additions they made, bringing Spiller in and trying to get a second, a two-headed attack. As much as I want it to be Crockett, but or not Crockett, Roundtree. Crockett's on Denver, right? Yeah.
You probably want him on your team too, because he'd be an improvement.
Oh yeah, well maybe, I don't know.
Oh no, he's a good running back. Trust me, I've been impressed.
You have to use him to make him good, though.
Well, yes, they don't need to use him. That's the thing. But so I think LA and Denver both have very top tier rushing attacks. I think Eckler's a little bit more of a weapon in terms of the passing game. But the reason I put Denver 1 is just because they're so effective running the ball with not just Williams, but also Gordon. And I think that that's only going to continue to progress into this next season. I do think there might be a little bit of a backdrop just because Russell Wilson's there, and there kind of be a different tone to their offensive attack with passing and everything. But I don't see it, dipping all that bad. And I mean, anytime you have two guys that almost rush 1,000 yards, you got to be in the conversation for one of the best running back groups.
Respect. Definitely respect the take.
I think that's far more
objective.
We'll say far more objective and far more balanced. And I can actually say that take is not having you being a homer.
Yeah.
Because if with anything else, you were pretty even keeled, through most of that in terms of your analysis and assessment.
Well, as much as I wanted to put the Chiefs up there, I think I lose respect of all of our viewers if I said Casey had the best running back group.
You got a great point.
So the best QB in the division. Yeah. But I'm just kidding. No. That's a preview for next week. My bad.
There you go.
So, Coach, over to you, and I'll kind of play cleanup on this one here and kind of add my additional takes after the fact. Your takes and maybe modifications, if you will, to kind of what Alex said, although I suspect that you probably agree with a fair amount.
I do. Actually, Alex was pretty spot on in the take I had, in all honesty, because I would definitely say the Chiefs are 4. And that's based on just this play style and play calling. Now, again, it would it would do us a really big favor if Andy stayed true to his form and just be pass heavy. But if they ever decided to add a running attack, an effective one, to their offense, it could make for a better, more productive overall side of the ball. But until Andy decides to do that, he has been, the Zebras don't change the stripes sometimes, but. So if he's true to the form, it's his short passing game is his running game, and he will likely always be 4th in the division in production, yards, and overall talent, because they just don't need a bell cow running back because they don't utilize them. You know, you would be almost wasting a draft pick or money spent in free agency to bring one in. So yeah, I would definitely leave the Chiefs at 4. I will put the Raiders at 3 as well, because again, the idea of what they're going to do. I think Josh McDaniels is a bit of a pass-centric guy as well, especially with the weapons he has now. He has the quarterback he wants. He has the weapons he wants. I think he's not going to shy away from throwing the ball.
New shiny wide receiver.
There you go. Right. So I think that the idea of him, being the old school Belichickian style when they had Mac Jones last year will likely not be the case. I think he's going to air it out more. And again, we're going to lean into the idea of their offensive line here in a minute, but I mean that plays into it. Because no matter how good your running back is, your offensive line isn't productive, then you can forget it. So I think that's the biggest reason why the Raiders remain at 3. Just on play style and talent up front. Definitely, and I would lean into the idea the Chargers are 2. I think it can't be close. I think the gap is going to be narrow at the end of the season. It's my hot take, because I think Spiller's going to be special, and I think he's going to keep Eckler fresh. So I think the idea of them having the 2 solid, who could be number one running backs in their arsenal with that revamped and improved O-line, I think will definitely add to the idea that we're going to have a balanced offense, running and passing. So I will put Chargers at a very high 2, and I will put the Broncos at 1. I do wonder, can they honestly and truly, I guess you can say, duplicate the production they had last year, because again, they did change, offensive schemes. They did change offensive offensive mindset, and I don't want to say Hackett is a more of a pass guy. So will he lean on his bell cows, because he can have the production that he wants from Gordon and Javonte Williams? Because I'll be honest, Javonte Williams is a certified dog. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I mean, if I'm sitting in the computer and he's on the board to draft in fantasy, I'm taking him. He's a certified dog. So and again, having bringing Melvin back is a blessing in disguise, because again, you keep him fresh. And you don't have to, run him into the ground, in the sense when you have the ability to run the ball and he's being effective in games. So I would say that they definitely have the ability to be the number one rushing attack, depending on the philosophy that Hackett wants to employ. I mean, he can go both ways. He has the receivers to be air raid style offense, or he can be ground and pound. You can pick your poison. In a sense, you have the personnel to do both. It's just a question of whether or not, what is he going to do? And what, is he going to let Russ cook, or is he going to, go back to running the ball and let, Russ run a lot of play action and boots and things of that nature, and getting out in space and throwing the ball down the field to his receivers. So I would say for sure, Broncos 1, Chargers 2, Raiders 3, and Chiefs 4.
Yeah, I actually have the same rankings as you do, Coach. I do have some interesting elements here as well, in the fact that there isn't another running back, number 1 or number 2, on any of the other AFC West rosters who outpaced the yards of Melvin Gordon, who was our number 2 running back. Or sorry, just yards. Sorry. He was our number 1 running back. No one came close to him. And there was only one who, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is Eckler, who I think had 9-11, which was only just above Williams on our team, who only started 1 game and didn't really get into the swing of things, because they didn't put him on the field until midway through the season, really. So I think that he's going to, I agree with all the comments and everything here, as well as what you said. He's a legit number 1 dude.
Yeah, that is.
Like, he is just a legit number 1 running back.
What round did you get him at? It wasn't first. What round?
Second.
Third or fourth.
Traded up in the second to pull him onto the team.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
He
was
traded
smart.
up in the second to grab him.
That was smart. Yeah, I get it. He's a bell cow. Like he's an old school running back in a new school era.
I'm pretty sure he went to college too as like a linebacker.
He did.
Remember. Yeah,
he did. He went to college as a linebacker, came out a running back, and then he plays running back like a linebacker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Right?
you can tell.
Yeah.
Seeking contact.
And
and
I'm looking at his receiving stats too. He did pretty solid.
He did well receiving as well. And so when you have a combined number 1, number 2 running back, where the number 2 guy was 903 yards and 4 touchdowns, in his rookie season,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's not that you know, let's just say that's a rough start, you know.
Both averaging pretty much 4.5 a carry too.
Yeah,
that's the number. That's the number right there.
So Coach, to your point, at 4.5 yards a carry for Gordon and 4.4 for Williams, you basically have two backs that you can confidently hand them the ball, generally speaking, and you know you're getting that first down.
Yeah.
And even if you have to go full run heavy in your offense, 3 runs and you're past your first down based on their average yards per carry, which is more than you could ever ask for really in a running room, is to get that kind of quote unquote guaranteed yards.
And to interchange them too.
And to be able to literally not lose a step by having 1A, 1B, like quite literally almost mirroring one another in terms of stats.
What's interesting about that too is the fact that you don't have a legit blocking tight end style of a guy that's your number tight end one. The fact they're getting that type of production and not having a legit blocking tight end at tight end one speaks to the volumes of the production they're getting as well. That's why you have to give kudos where kudos are offered, because that they just get it done. You know, they just get it done. And
Melvin Gordon though just pops off runs. I swear, it doesn't matter how old that dude is, he will at least have one 80-yard run in a season. Like,
right. I can't hate him. And once the Chargers fans want to, you know, throw vitriol his way when it comes to him being, you know, turning over to the Broncos and not re-signing with the Chargers. He won me a fantasy title last year. So I mean, hey, money in my pocket, ring on my finger. Listen, me and Melvin are okay.
I wanted the Chiefs to sign him this year. That was kind of on my. I wrote an article about like free agents I wanted, and that was the guy I wanted them to go after. I was kind of upset he stayed, but
yeah.
I get why.
I was actually gonna. I didn't want to interject when you were speaking, but that's exactly what I was kind of getting. I was gonna say when you were giving your take on your running back room was. That's what you guys are missing for the Chiefs. So when you look at the way Andy Reid would like to run things, he wants diversity, he wants mismatch, he wants that kind of stuff. A guy like Gordon would be a perfect fit for you because he's kind of a bigger, stronger version of Jamal Charles in some ways, where he's got a bit of a speed. People underestimate Gordon's speed because he's such he's a quick dude. And he's also, I mean, there was 2 catches in particular last year where I think he actually made one of the last catches that allowed us to win a game, but he made a catch that I've seen most wide receivers drop. And so to me, he's a perfect Andy Reid fit. The other thing I do want to bring in, Glenn, thank you for joining us this evening. Glenn Hauser of MHRT Network. You can catch Glenn and the rest of the guys on MHRT Network, the 5280 podcast on Tuesdays. Glenn was just making a great point about Javonte and just how he kind of split the load between him and Carter in college. So what you got is a guy that was part of a run heavy offense, but was able to keep tread on the tires and not wear his body down as much when he was going through college. I know that's kind of more of the college mold now in terms of how a lot of these colleges do like to run their backfields. But nonetheless, a lot of the times when colleges land on a guy, they say, well, why would we not just put that guy out? And so you saw that with Derrick Henry, for example. You know, why get him off the field when he's clearly the best player on it? So, and even at the NFL level, he's basically still either the best or one of the best on it, which kind of speaks volumes for him and his rushing. But I think Glenn's point is really well taken and certainly accurate in the fact that Williams, and the other thing, if I can kind of also add on to that in terms of what Williams did for me, which really surprised me, at the college level, Williams liked to bounce outside a lot. He always wanted to go outside, go round the right tackle, round the left tackle. He always wanted to go wide. And what we saw from Javonte in last year's Broncos offense was he kind of either he was coached to do that in college and he just kind of was doing what he was told.
Probably just got away with it.
Or got away with it because he could.
Yeah.
But at least at the NFL level, he started to run between the tackles. He started to run up the middle and center of the field and was gaining big yardage by doing it. And I think that speaks volumes for the fact that he is, in fact, that versatile back that Denver needs. And I mean, between a 1-2 punch, if they can both get to the 900-yard mark or somewhere close to that next year or even exceed it, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be pretty close. I think that production-wise, I think that we'll probably be talking about the 4 top running backs in the division is going to be Eckler, Spiller, Williams, and Gordon based on health. And I think with them both having each other to lean on their counterpart, it should keep them fresh, and it'll allow Eckler to be more involved in the pass game as well. So you might see a Marshall Faulk-esque type year from Eckler, where he's deadly, maybe 1,005, 15 touchdowns, something of that nature. When it comes down to his production, because again, he will be fresh. Eckler's a very strong guy, but he is lean, and I think Spiller's the more of the heavier back. So the tough yardage might likely more so go to Spiller in those short yardage situations, which will, free up Eckler from getting, stepped on in the trenches more so, keep him fresh and keep him healthy and allow him to be able to, be there for a 17 game versus, the 15 to 16 that he normally is accustomed to. Because he always misses one game here and there, with a leg issue or something like that, because he gets overworked and not blocked for it. That was the biggest problem in the times he's been here for the last couple of years, that he just been overworked because he hasn't been blocked for it. He's taking too many hits.
And they didn't really have like anybody else, to kind of share the load with.
There you go. Everybody you try to depend on. I mean, his best year was literally when he had Melvin Gordon in the backfield with him that one year. So, if you look at his production from that perspective, that's why they opted to pay him versus paying Gordon. And the lofty money that he
was just a touchdown machine too. It's touchdowns.
Plus touchdowns last year. So even in a couple of games he was kind of banged up. So definitely say that
20.
Close. Yeah.
So I got a question for you, Coach. Well, since we're going running backs, and then we'll shift over and kind of talk about those that make the running back successful in the offensive line. But the one thing that really surprised me with the Chargers is that when Denver ultimately opted to not bring back Lindsey, Philip Lindsey, that is. Right. Eckler and Philip Lindsey to me are at least similar, not identical, but they're at least similar. Now, Lindsey may not be as good of a pass catcher, or at least a proven pass catcher, although in Miami, he kind of showed he can clearly do it. So the question here is, why do you think that the Chargers haven't gone after, I don't want to call it an Eckler clone, because I think that's disrespectful to Eckler and what he's kind of shown he can do and what he can be in the league. But why do you not think that they've gone after a similar running back that can spell him or perform similar roles to even allow for a 1-2 punch, or have them both on the field at the same time, break one of them out wide and keep another one at running back?
Well, I mean, not many people, if anybody's doing that, honestly, truly, because I mean, you look at it, Eckler is a strong enough back and a strong enough body type to be able to run between the tackles. He's not a third down scat back, a James White type of guy, although he's elite as a pass catcher. So I think he's a prototypical combo back. He can do both and do both, at a high clip. But again, you just don't want to, wear the tires down too fast. And early in the season, wherein you keep him fresh towards the end of the season, he'll benefit you, down the stretch. So I think that's the biggest thing that you will say, that you want to get somebody that's the opposite of him, and getting a guy like Spiller. You want somebody, again, that run between the tackles, get those tough yards, and then kind of give him a break on that second and third down carries and short yardage, which will allow him to be more effective and more of a weapon outside. And I would say that the idea of lining Spiller up, because Spiller's an underrated pass catcher as well. Lining Spiller up and Eckler up in the backfield would give you a 1-2 combo punch where you just really don't know who's going to get the ball, and you can handle either one, and it'll be production. So I think that what they did is the right idea and right mold that they should have built upon by getting Spiller. The Spiller is a bigger back, but he's one of those short, bursty type of elusive kind of backs. But he has a lot of power behind him as well. He runs well behind his pads. He did get even a lot of comparisons to Le'Veon Bell in his early days. So, something like that, and a nice, change of pace back. That is key component. Nice change of pace back to Eckler is something that you want to have, so you can kind of give people headaches when it comes to matchups.
No, I get that. I guess what I was more going at is quick burst speed. Lindsey went back to back and was the first UDFA to do it with over 1,000 yards. He set several records. Was looking like he had. Well, no, but that was a coaching thing. And I kind of blame the coaching thing there in my opinion, and I actually differ from some of my colleagues.
Gordon too, didn't they? Like they had him and Gordon the same 1 year, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. No.
No, they did because Javonte just got there last year. He was a rookie. Lindsey was there the year before that.
Oh, no, they did. Yeah, you're right. The first year it was Gordon and Lindsey.
That was the year after Lindsey went back to back.
Yeah, and then Lindsey left the year after that. So Lindsey was at 502, and then Gordon was at 986, and then Lindsey was at 4.3 yards per attempt, and then Gordon was at 4.6. But the problem though is that between the two of them, they only really used Lindsey in certain key roles, and they didn't really intermix him. And they were trying to basically have Lindsey be Melvin Gordon and perform all the same types of things that Gordon did. And that's just not going to work. You need to like design plays and make it kind of fit the personnel that you have. And so Lindsey was just not necessarily being used correctly. And he was exposed, if I'm going to be honest, in certain areas where he was asked to basically be almost block like a tight end. And Lindsey and Eckler, no offense, are both not tight ends. They are not big enough to take on these bigger outside ends or outside linebackers. They just get mowed over. They're not meant for that.
And they're not like pass protecting kind of backside.
Well, no, but you don't necessarily want them to be full pass protecting. You just need them to, add an extra bit of time. The problem is that I think some of these teams, including the Chargers, you're looking to have those backs try to fill a role in some cases where you're wanting them to hold blocks. Eckler is not that guy. Lindsey is not that guy. No. Gordon is that guy. He's big enough because he's the size of a linebacker, really, and he can hold those blocks and keep some of those guys back and give a cleaner pocket for a longer period of time.
I would raise the idea that the weight matters. We have a term in my group chat. It's called leader. It stands for light in the arse, right? So if you're a leader type back, which is I lend to the idea that if you're sub 200 pounds at any stretches of running back, then you're a scat
you're
back.
Elusive.
You're elusive back, right? So I would say that when you're dealing with a Lindsey, he's all speed and he's very leader. And I would say that Eckler is in between. He's a 205, 208 pound back. Very strong, very bench press 600 pound type of guy. You should just have to see his workouts. He's a freak of nature. And then Melvin Gordon's on the high end of that. He's in the 212, 215 range. Although he has speed and elusiveness, that I think he's the prototypical one cut back. He the idea of him being able to take the punishment from the defense, linebackers and defensive linemen lying on him on respective downs is much easier to deal with when you're talking about Gordon carrying the ball a lot and versus Lindsey. So again, it's just those tough yards, that durability to have and enough more weight on behind your pads will lend to the idea that you will be a more consistent runner versus a pass catcher.
I also think that like kind of the contract situation plays into it with some of these players. Like Lindsey was undrafted, right? So he was probably like 1 year to year or maybe 2 years. I don't, but
Eckler was probably, too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's UDFA. Yep, he's UDFA.
Yeah, they were both. But so maybe with Lindsey's situation, it was they already paid Gordon to come in, so let's not really try to give this guy much opportunity to make himself overly valuable, or our better bid ourselves out of signing him back. And maybe that's kind of similar to what the Chargers are doing. I don't know Eckler's contract situation right now, but maybe that's why they're not bringing in a veteran. And kind of trying to draft rookies, so they got guys on younger deals. So if he does keep the production up, they can pay him and not be tied to someone else.
Yeah,
Right.
Eckler's halfway through his contract. I think he signed a 4-year deal when Melvin Gordon's contract was up. They were up at the same time, actually.
Yeah.
So he signed a 4-year deal when Melvin Gordon went away. So he's halfway through his contract.
Yeah, and
So
so
guys,
that may
now
play a
there's
factor.
4. Now there's 4 of us here. We're back to full strength.
Oh, gee, thanks, man.
I didn't
love
see you there.
you, Coach. Oh yeah, I did see you come in.
Yeah, so now we're back to full strength here with all 4 of us. I really want to dive deeper into the offensive lines on all of our teams. Yeah, like maybe a high point type thing, or do a backflip or something. You'll be good. There you go. Yeah. Well, no, that's 60s disco, man.
No, those are 2 words that don't go together: 60s and disco.
Okay, you know better than that.
That's 70s.
Well, we'll just say it's disco. How's that?
No,
but
that's called no. That's called the swim. It was from the 60s.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't here yet, so I can't tell you.
I think that's from that old bikini bop, like that old bebop and that kind of style of music where you had like the and let's just say lots of drugs were consumed. But
had the little white powder here.
So
got a little bit of sugar on your nose there.
Yeah, a little bit, right? So
I like this.
Woo. So we let's just put it this way: with the running backs, captain, let's just say that we collectively disagreed with your rankings. However,
wait. Let me give you my surprise face.
Yeah. Now, running backs really can't do their thing unless they have a good offensive line. You could have the best running back in the backfield, and it matters not if your O-line cannot block for them.
Okay, and actually, I'm going to pull another one of those pages out from Coach's playbook here. Okay. I did the offensive line separately than the running back. I'm talking about what I looked at as a backfield, the capabilities of the running backs on their own.
Yeah,
so it's like I was looking at my running backs versus your running backs versus his running backs versus their running backs playing behind a neutral offensive line. So that's why I came to the conclusion that I did. I didn't bring any offensive line into it. I'm talking about if I got these guys as a whole, this is how I would rank them. And that's where I came from that. Now, have we gone into the offensive lineman yet?
That's what we're doing right now.
Okay.
So how about you kick us off?
May I start again? Yeah.
Yeah. How about you kick us off?
Yeah. The worst offensive line in the AFC West
drum roll, please.
the Las Vegas Raiders. No, they're not Oakland.
That's good. I was
It's
hoping you'd say the Raiders.
And only because you look at what, and again, I'm not biased. I don't know why you guys seem to think I'm biased. Like I said, I did running backs and we're all behind. Let's say I did the running backs and we're all running behind a line of
the Cleveland Browns line.
No, I did the running backs, not putting up with the line, the running backs. Now I'm looking at the offensive line, and the Raiders right now have the worst offensive line in the AFC West. Now it doesn't mean that they can't get better. It doesn't mean that they're not a viable unit, because this worst offensive line is only going to get better. And oh, by the way, they made the playoffs last year, Coach. So they must have been doing something right, because the offense scored enough points when they needed to. But the worst offensive.
What have you done for me lately?
Okay, well, the last lately I had was a game against the Chargers in January, and we beat you. That's the lately I have. That's the last lately I have. Because the only other lately I have beyond that
we
is
have
that
a burn on the soundboard, because that has some sizzle to the comment right there. Let me tell you,
it is.
Close the yearbook, man.
No, I'm just saying. Okay, here's the deal. right now, if you look at the Raiders' offensive line against the people that are on other lines, they're the worst. Not by much, because I think that they're just a little bit worse than the Denver offensive line. And Denver is 3 in my book. Okay. Denver's 3 in my book because they have the same problem that we have. We have a swinging gate at right tackle, and they have a swinging gate at right tackle. And even Richie knows that as well. We're going to see if we've addressed that. They're going to see if they've addressed that. The 2 best offensive lines, and again, I had them at 1 and 1A, and this will surprise you, is I'm actually projecting, because as far as capable starters right now, you would think that Kansas City is 1 and the Chargers are 1A. But I think that the Chargers have done enough in what they were doing in the draft and other things that they are going to supplant Kansas City with the number 1 offensive line right now, because there's also a question mark with Kansas City with Orlando Brown. And as of right now, at 8:19 p.m. on the 29th of June, he's not signed. But I still am going to give a little. Sorry?
They franchised him? Did they franchise him?
Yeah, he's on the team for this year. Is he signed?
Okay. Well, apologies. He was,
him.
Then
yes, he is. So they are clear cut number 1. Thank you.
Yeah. But you know what? The last time I saw the Chargers, they lost their last game. What have you done for me lately? You lost your last game. You guys, if you're gonna bring it up, I'm gonna effing throw it down your throat.
Anybody say anything about the last game of the season? I mean, technically, last game of the season was a loss in the playoffs, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Exactly, because that's the latest thing we have, right?
Okay. All right. So
in my guess, like I said, Raiders number 4,
Raiders
Denver number 3.
Okay.
I have the Chiefs at 1A.
Okay.
And I'm projecting the Chargers to have a better offensive line this year.
Okay.
But that don't mean diddly poo, as Coach Mora reminded us. Don't mean diddly poo.
Diddly poo. Okay.
And I'm holding my tongue.
Coach, as being number 1 and likely 1A per captain's rankings, what do you have in terms of where you think your team's going to land on the offensive line, and also your rankings of the AFC West?
Well, if I may, I need your help with the Denver Broncos. I guess you could say O-line, because I'm struggling a little bit about what it is and what it isn't. Because again, that we're also talking about a change in culture, in a sense. I will give kudos to Dalton Reisner and Garrett Bowles for being a solid, addition to the left side. But I've heard you say in your own words that you had questions about where the center, right tackle, and right guard is going to be come the start of the season. So it's
I'm not concerned about right guard.
Not concerned. Oh, so Glasgow is going to be the guy?
No.
Quinn, maybe.
Quinn
Miners is the guy.
Okay.
Let's just make no mistake. That dude is a stud.
Okay.
I think I just said. See, that there's an echo in here because I just said that too. So you got the echo.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. No. I don't think you. I don't think you understand. That dude is just like.
He's a mauler.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
He's what you guys want Sawyer to be.
Oh well, yeah. I hope he is then, because I've definitely got a stock when it comes down to hopefully he supplants Pipkin and Norton at the right tackle spot. But we'll get into that in a minute. So that solidifies for me. Of course, the Raiders for me are 4. I would say that honestly and truly that based upon from a production standpoint and now the quarterback you have, I feel like I would give the Broncos the edge over the Chiefs in regards to ranking, based upon honestly,
that is absurdly hot.
Now again, like and I'll tell you why I have issue with the Chiefs O line, because I don't feel like, although I think he wants to play it, I don't feel like Orlando Brown's a left tackle. I don't think he's athletic enough. I think he's a right tackle, but he wants to play left tackle. That's where his dad played. Now whether you pay him as a left tackle, he's not Trent Williams or David Bakhtiari. I mean, he's just not. I mean, hell, I don't think he's Rashawn Slater. But so I got questions about him being a left tackle. Don't have an issue at all with Creed Humphrey. Creed Humphrey's a bona fide stud. He stole him in the draft. Creed Humphrey's a stud. Joe Thuney's a stud. But your right side of the line.
Smith's a stud.
Who?
Trey Smith, the right guard.
Is he?
Yeah. Undrafted and one of the highest rated guards in football last year.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
So that just leaves Andrew Wiley then, and we'll leave it at that. But I would say, I mean, if because again, I'm very high. If I had to match them up again, I have questions about Brown's pass pro. I think he's a better run blocker than he is a pass protector. Honestly, and you pass the ball more so than you run the ball. So it's kind of an odd fit for me, honestly, from a scheme perspective. If he belonged on the Ravens from Orlando Brown's perspective, they run the ball and he's a mauler. He's not a pass protector. So again, if I had to go with Bowles versus Brown, I would say definitely Bowles gets the nod as far as a better pass protector, in my opinion. So I would say that, in a slight edge, I will give the Chiefs 3, Broncos 2, and I'll give the Chargers 1. Just based upon the things I've underscored. And if the things check out the way I wanted to, you have Rashawn Slater, Matt Filer, Corey Linsley, Zion Johnson, and Jamari Salyer at right tackle. And let's go win the Super Bowl.
That's Lindsley, right?
Huh?
The center.
Corey Linsley, yeah.
Corey Linsley, right? That's because you guys signed it's the Packers center, right?
Yeah, from a couple years ago. Yeah, Corey Linsley,
yeah. Okay.
What was that? What was the last two words that you used there, Coach? Because I don't think that those two words ever go with the Chargers in a sense.
Yeah.
Just for your reference, Orlando Brown gave up the same amount of sacks as your highly touted Rashawn Slater. So,
did it now?
Who is a rookie?
Both gave up 4.
No,
but
no.
He's a bona fide left tackle. So
but I think the important thing to keep in mind is Slater did that as a rookie.
Oh yeah, no, I do think Slater's very good.
A rookie. Brown is not a rookie. So I think that when you have a rookie who steps into the league can we at least all agree that the left tackle is probably one of the most difficult positions to play on the NFL offensive line?
Yeah, period.
Right? I think we can all, So if you have a rookie that comes in and basically matches a veteran that's at the back end of any contract who's now getting tagged, at some point you have to say, dude, we nailed the draft.
Oh, yeah.
Orlando Brown has started since 2018 and has only given up 10 sacks in his whole career, playing between right tackle and left.
Having Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, so that's kind of skewed.
Okay, I'm just saying.
I'm not even comparing him at the right tackle versus left tackle. I'm simply saying that if you're saying that statistically Brown and Slater matched in terms of sacks given up, my only point is that Slater was a rookie coming into the league straight out of college in one of the most difficult positions at the NFL level. And Brown
he took a year
is a veteran.
And he went to Northwestern. So
that's my only point. My point isn't to say that I don't think Brown is a good left tackle. My point is just saying that if you're going to try and say my guy is good or really good and then compare him to a rookie as your comparative point, I think you would basically hope that Slater is going to take a progressive step forward in his second year. At least that would be what coach wants to see.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
And then you hope with experience he continues to grow, because basically that would solidify the fact that you guys have locked down the left side of your line at the left tackle position for the next 10 years.
And I believe we have. So definitely give the nod in that regard. But again, it could go either way. But I mean, as far as production is concerned, I said I would give a slight edge because I still believe that. Now you could disagree with me too. I think that Billy Turner is a slight steal for the Broncos, and I think he will play right tackle for you guys come week 1. You don't think he's going to play right tackle?
I'm talking to Bill, Bill Belichick, and he says, "Coach, you have no effing clue what the hell you're talking about."
I'm sure you're talking to Evil Bill. Well, I give Evil Bill enough crap on my podcast, so he doesn't like me anyway. So he's going to say that regardless.
So I'm actually interested, Alex. The Chiefs have been within the top 2 ranking. Well, no, have at least been mentioned within the upper tier of these rankings. I assume that you agree with Coach's general sentiment that you guys are at the very least starting the season at the number 1 offensive line.
I don't think that's what he said, though.
No, he did.
No,
he did.
I thought he had him 3rd.
Chiefs 3, slightly 3, and Broncos slightly ahead at 2, and Chargers 1.
Yeah.
No, for the offensive line, he had the Raiders at 4, Denver at 3, LA at 1, and then 1A is KC. But then he said that the Chargers were going to leapfrog.
That was Cap.
Coach has him at 3.
Oh, sorry, I meant captain when I said coach.
Yeah.
No, so I do somewhat disagree. I somewhat agree with Cap. I obviously disagree with Coach. I think that looking at it going into the season and just looking at the projected starters, I think the Chiefs have the most complete unit and the most experienced unit, with the only question being who's going to play right tackle. Is it going to be – I don't think it's going to be Wiley. They signed him to kind of be the 6-man swing, depth piece. It's going to be either Niang, who played some last year. He was a promising rookie, then sat out because of COVID and got hurt last year. Or this Kennard guy that they took from Kentucky, who was one of the highest rated PFF graded offensive lineman in the SEC, and sort of similar to Trey Smith, fell because of health concerns and where he would play. But I think just as a whole, they have, objectively looking at it, the most complete offensive line, as they should, because the main focus point of last season was to rebuild the offensive line. So I would hope they didn't jack that up. And I mean, the oldest player on it is Tooney, and he's going to be turning 30 halfway into this year. So they're still relatively young.
That's not bad.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, O-line, that's not bad.
I got shirts older than Joe Tooney.
So it's not a bad problem to have.
Oh, thank goodness you didn't say underwear.
I said that last week. Get your stuff right. I said it last week.
Oh,
I gotta change the clothing, or it's a stale joke.
Right, Rich. I think we missed a point here. Because we kind of said this in regards to running backs, how we classify them. So what do you quantify a good O-line to be? Like, what's the classification? What's the criteria? Like, is it ability to be a good run blocking O-line, a good pass blocking O-line, a little bit of both, the production?
Really?
Like, what is how do you rank them? What's your criteria on how we rank them?
Well, see, that's actually where that's kind of where I was going to go with it all. So I thank you for the lead in.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole thing has always been, and Captain, I've been on your podcast a bunch of times, and I've made these same comments. So I'm ridiculously consistent on this. Your offensive line needs to match the system in which you're running. Full stop, period. And so what you need to do is first decide what type of offense you want to be. So the Chiefs have basically decided under Andy Reid that running the ball is simply an option that they know exists, but they just don't want to do it, right? And that's okay. And Alex, that wasn't really meant as a knock. I mean, you guys have clearly done really well for yourself, so obviously it's working, right? But the thing is that when you guys then go looking for an offensive lineman, your primary focus when you're seeking an offensive lineman, if you're drafting properly, is to seek one who can pass pro. Run blocking would then be a secondary. It would be nice if, right?
Shoot, that's tertiary. I think that there is pass pro is number one. Getting Andy Reid food is number two. And then run blocking is and it might not even be that high. It might be seeing what else.
I think you're right. I think that number 3 would probably be ensuring that they know the best burger joints in town.
No.
Then number 4 is run blocking.
CPR.
So are you referring that the Chiefs O-line
Right, but my point ultimately is that your offensive line needs to match the scheme in which you're going to run. Otherwise, it's not going to work out well.
And that's why they had the doctor on the offensive line, the kid from Canada, because he was Andy Reid's extra doctor in case he had a cardiac arrest. They had what's his name, the French dude who I like, by the way,
Terry.
Yeah. What'd you do with him? You got rid of him.
They traded him.
Like, you trade. Dumb. He's the guy that's got to be there on the sideline when Andy has his next.
Duvernay Tardif? You talking about Duvernay Tardif?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, when you got an undrafted rookie right guard who is exponentially better than him, I think you can trade him for something.
Yeah, and when Andy,
regardless if he's a doctor or not,
having that peanut butter and burger sandwich because Tardif wasn't there to conduct CPR. You said, we might have want to kept them around.
Right. But my point being is that you need to have an offensive line that's going to match your scheme. And I think that the Chiefs have a pass protection heavy offensive line.
Yes.
The reason why the Raiders are number 4, and I agree with that ranking, by the way, is because they're in a transitional period and it's a difficult spot for them. They came from a run-heavy offense in years past, and they've cycled through a whack of their linemen. The challenge that I had with Gruden is that he was trying to go after personalities, in my opinion, rather than fitting people to the scheme or size. And he wasn't necessarily going after skill sets.
I'm
looking at from the outside in, right? So
I'm gonna disagree with you and Alex, and I am putting the blame firmly on Uncle Fester, aka Tom Cable.
Uncle Fester.
Okay. Tom Cable. And I thought, well, hey, Tom Cable, not a bad guy. I gave him way too much credit. He has been an inept offensive line coach for years, and you saw what he did. He decimated the Seahawks. They were more than happy to get rid of him. He goes to the Raiders, and he made the offensive line worse.
Right, okay. but now is that the off? Now, so here's, in a situation like this, and I don't want to fully digress and go down that rabbit hole per se, but in a situation like that, is that not on Mayock and Gruden? And I say Gruden because he ultimately had the final say. Yeah. So is it not on both of those guys to look at Cable and say, dude, we brought you in to coach. You haven't proven yourself enough yet to then have a say in what teams, like what people we get. We're going to give you guys and we expect you to coach them. So
no. Gruden actually gave Cable had his guys that fit Cable's system underneath Gruden's system. Yeah. So it's like he said, hey.
Right. So then I blame Gruden then.
I'm sorry.
You got to blame the front office for hiring Gruden and give him the.
No. Then I blame Gruden, right? Because ultimately Gruden had the final say in the draft. In terms of he had that extra 1 percentile over the GM, which is a really weird setup, right? Because that typically doesn't happen.
Trust me, I will never do anything to back up Gruden other than with his current legal battle against the NFL.
I agree.
Yeah, he was horrible. Okay,
yeah,
and
I agree.
I am on record to saying that Gruden has always been. And Gruden 2.0, I said the reason why I hated him the first time is because he would never, put the pedal to the metal. And the Raiders went to a Super Bowl when they had Mark Trestman on their offense, okay, under Callahan. So it was a matter. And Matt Marinovich, I will say that as well. They had the big uglies, and Gruden wanted to make them do Gruden drafted big uglies and Cable wanted them to run zone. No. And what I think that we are finally going to do, and that's why I said the Raiders right now, they are the number 4 offensive line because I appreciate you saying it, Rich, they are in transition.
Right.
And I can't remember the Italian guy's name. I'm going to call him Guido for right now, for lack of better terms. I'm sure that's going to get me a lot of hate mail, but Guido, who is a Dante Scarnecchia. No, it's Dante Scarnecchia was the Patriots offensive line coach and was a fantastic guy. Oh, Bracilli. There you go. Carmen Bracilli.
Elite coach Scarnecchia from the
Yes,
Patriots.
Dante Scarnecchia was elite. And Bracilli is cut from that cloth. And that is why I think that they are only going to improve. But because coach is of the mind, what have you done for me lately? I gotta rank them at 4. But the thing is that under Bracilli, they're going to improve, and they're going to put the best players out there, and they're going just because they have the number 4 offensive line doesn't mean that they are going to be the crappiest offensive line in the AFC West when all is said and done. And a lot of it is going to be under Bracilli using McDaniel's system. And what is that offense called, people? This is
Amelia Earhart.
Gwyneth Paltrow offense.
the Earhart Fairbanks offense. Thank you. You guys keep screwing up the test. It's
the Amelia Earhart Carlton Banks offense.
Carlton Banks.
But there you go.
Carlton Banks. I like it. Does it come with the dance?
It has to. It has to.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
there you go, Cal. Get it.
Yeah.
Not bad for no dude, man. Not bad.
No,
hey, you saw my Twitter. You saw my Twitter. You saw me dance to "Gotta Get Up Early in the Morning."
So when we look at these different offenses, and this is why the offensive line and the system that is run is so important. So, Coach, you kind of hinted at it in your rankings. You're saying, like, I need your help. I'm trying to figure this out. I think you're absolutely correct. And I think if you look at the 2019 Broncos and how we played near the back end of the season in an outside zone blocking scheme, we had a fair number of the same linemen that we had now then. And you saw a lot of them fit that style of offense better. And then this is just my opinion, so I'm going to kind of like preface this, which is then John Elway and Fangio. There's some argument within Broncos country as to which one of them, did the deed. They fired Scangarello, and they brought in Pat Shurmur, who was, let's just say, much worse. And then he attempted to fit a square peg in a round hole, and then tried to say, well, it's not my fault at the same time. So the problem is that when you have certain players and certain people that are there that are meant to do certain roles and play certain types of offenses, it's up to you as an offensive coordinator to then adapt your offensive scheme to the players you have. Or on the flip side of that, it's up to the front office to bring in an offensive coordinator who has the skill sets and has the vision for an offensive scheme to fit, or better fit rather, the players that you have on your team. So the Raiders right now are about to find out whether or not they have done the same thing that the Broncos have likely done, in my opinion, simply because Hackett runs an outside zone scheme, and that was the scheme in which most of our players did really well in. So I think the Broncos have at least firmly moved ourselves squarely into that quadrant. What the Raiders don't know right now, which again is why I agree with the number 4 ranking, is because their offensive linemen were not around, most of them, or any of them, if I'm not mistaken, when they ran the current offensive scheme that they're likely going to run. And so you
need to make sure you do the full stop period on that though too.
No, I don't do that. Only every once in a while. You got to dust that in sparingly. And so the key with this is, do you have the right players to run the right part of your scheme? And then I think for McDaniels, this is going to be a little bit of a trial and error. He's going to identify a few linemen that don't necessarily fit or do the types of things that he wants to do. He's going to have limitations with some of them that he's going to have to kind of dial things and tweak things to kind of mask it in terms of certain games. And he's going to have to adapt accordingly. The thing is, he's an offensive-minded coach, and I guarantee you he's likely going to figure that out.
Yeah, and actually, I think that, and again, I'm sorry, Rich, I needed to jump.
Yeah.
Is that with Bracilli and with all the guys out in what should be like Las Vegas East in the hoodie, all of these guys have been in that system, okay, coaching wise, right? That's one of the reasons why Illuminor was re-signed, because Illuminor played right tackle for Brasili a couple years ago, so he knows the system. So that might be the plug in at right tackle. And if he doesn't do right tackle, he should probably do right guard. But they're going to get the right 5 guys in there. And I'm going to say that. Oh yeah, there you go, Matt Marino. Thank you, Matt. Did he say that before I said that, or
Yeah,
did I
he did.
say it?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I didn't see it, but I saw it in passing. But yeah, Illuminor knows the system, and Brasili's going to get that in there as well. Okay. They're going to get the. I love Sharif, man. He loves the bag on McDaniel. You know, it's like okay, Thanos, got you, brother. We got it. That's the ramp. But
yeah, but hold on, just jumping in there. McDaniels, when he was in Denver, he was the head coach, so yeah, wasn't the offensive coordinator, but he did in fact have pretty high-level executive veto power when he came to Denver. That's why he took the job.
Yeah.
Denver had some really legitimate rushing attacks when he was here with Willis McGahee at running back and some like. So I really think you need to be
kind of had. So you had Tim Tebow as your quarterback, but never mind.
Well, I mean, he was a tight end playing quarterback. I agree, but that's besides the point. Ultimately, you had McDaniels who had a vision for running a specific style and put the right guys in place. And if you're actually going to go all the way down that rabbit hole, as much as most Denver fans don't want to admit it, to like 90th percentile of the roster, with the exception of a few minor changes, come 2013, most of those guys were brought in within the McDaniels regime. It was the changing of coach and then system that then actually changed the offensive style when Peyton Manning came in, where Peyton Manning just kind of applied his concepts to what we had. But we already had a lot of the player personnel here, and McDaniels has already admitted to his own faults, which is more than you get from 95% of all of these NFL coaches. So I'm interested, genuinely, also somewhat afraid, because typically most people are not that self-aware to then come out and admit when they made a wrong. And you've seen that in multiple head coaching and even just offensive coordinator positions in the NFL, where these guys just say, "What do you mean? I'm an NFL coach."
Yeah, it's a quality I admire if you have a self-awareness and understanding that you can make mistakes and be humble enough to say that I made a mistake and I know what it's going to take now to correct it. And that's what McDaniel said. He laid it down on the carpet and said that I made my mistakes as a head coach the first time, and I learned and I'm better for it. So I definitely appreciate that.
He probably to some degree had to do that, though. I'm sure these franchises are like, what the hell happened in Denver? And if he just said, no, it was so-and-so, then that kind of is
blame it all on Tebow.
Yeah,
No, but Alex, that's exactly my point, though, is that most other coaches at the NFL level say exactly what you just said he should not have said. And instead, McDaniels publicly, in front of everybody, in front of the world, said, yeah, this guy screwed up. And came clean. And I think there's so few coaches at that level that have that wherewithal to say, I made mistakes, I've learned from them, and that's why I waited this long to do what I wanted to do.
Well, I mean,
I really think that if we're going to be honest at the AFC West as a collective whole, that's the whole purpose of having the show, is that we need to be mindful of the fact that when another team within our division brings in a head coach that has that self-awareness, because that can be dangerous, because that means he's already proven that he's willing to pivot his offense, I mean, on a whim, just for fun. And if he can also adapt himself personally to certain circumstances like that, that can really make him as a dangerous coach, because Andy Reid, to look at your team, is willing to take open-ended questions and open-ended suggestions from anyone who comes into his office. So I do question and wonder whether or not McDaniels is in a similar mold now, where he's willing to say, I'm imperfect, so therefore I need to look at advice from others and then adapt accordingly.
Yeah, I think he is. And kind of one thing I wanted to add to it is, I think it's kind of – I bag on McDaniels, but I'm also at the same time kind of like nervous for him to go to Las Vegas.
That's exactly
because, like Sharif said, he's every year he's talked about being one of the sought after guys for a head coaching job, and every year he lets it pass. And then this was the one. Except he did go to the Colts and then said, "Oh wait, never mind."
I gotta address it,
Captain. I need to take this over because every time I hear this comment, I get just a little bit more pissed off. Trust me, I think McDaniels did a whole whack of stuff wrong in Denver, and I think that it was on him to own it. And I was actually pleasantly surprised to hear him do so in the Raiders presser. However, the Colts, when McDaniels was originally brought in, made multiple promises to him as the potential head coach. McDaniels then found out through his own contacts, and by the way, there's multiple sources online where you can find this. Through multiple contacts, found out that the Colts were misleading him when he was brought in and committed to the Colts. And that is the main and primarily reason why he then went back to the Patriots and said, if you're going to do me dirty like that before I sign fully on the dotted line, why would I come there? And furthermore, Sharif, this is, by the way, I love your comments because I think it's important to have these dialogues, is he did not sign on the dotted line yet. And he found out stuff that he didn't like and said, peace out, I'm gone.
He pulled a Randy Gregory before Randy Gregory put it in.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Use the Colts reference for a little comedic jab at Andrew Luck. But what I'm trying to say is it's, I think, nerve-wracking for other AFC West teams that of all the off seasons, this is the one he decided to leave New England and go to Las Vegas because he likes what's already on the roster and probably liked that the abilities he's going to have to build what he wants. And, Derek Carr, for as much as I like to bag on him, is a pretty solid quarterback compared to Mac Jones or Cam Newton and what he had since Brady left. So what I was trying to say is I think it's not just a coincidence that he left New England when he did and took this job in Las Vegas, just because is what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, I agree.
By the way, Rich is the best ventriloquist because notice my lips did not move the entire time. My lips did not move the entire time when he gave the dissertation of everything I was going to say. So thank you, Rich. Next time, don't up the too much because it's a little bit much. On the
he's right above you. That's what makes it funny. But that will make you the best ventriloquist in the world because you're the one doing all the the dance. You're Geppetto. He's Pinocchio.
I'm just a tall dude, right? So tall guy, long arms. So
I didn't have to say a word because Rich did it for me. Thank you, Rich.
So with that in mind, my general kind of consensus on the offensive line is I agree with the initial breakdown, although I think quickly Denver is going to insert itself somewhere into the number 2 ranking in the AFC West, simply because I believe the player personnel that we have on the offensive line truly better fits the outside zone run scheme that Hackett wants to run. Now, if we're going to simply and only want to say, hey, what do you have and what have you seen so far, and then you don't want to project out, then I actually fully agree with Captain with your rankings basically as written, which is Raiders number 4, Denver number 3, Chargers number 2, and KC number
Chargers.
1.
I'm projecting Chargers number 1 in a thumbnail over the Chiefs.
Then I disagree with your rankings because I would put KC above the Chargers.
Yeah, like I said, I'm projecting.
I
took a coach page and I said that I can play the game I want to play the way I want to play it.
But now, if I'm going to flip that and say, hey, Rich, start projecting out with where you think scheme fits and these other, the potential of where things are going to end up, then I still think the Raiders are number 4. I would likely move the Chargers to number. I would probably move KC down to number 3.
You wanted to put the Chargers there.
I would move Denver to number 2, and I think the Chargers would be number 1.
There you go.
And like I said, if we're going to do that, if we're going to, like I said, on the scheme fit, right now, only because Coach likes a certain Janet Jackson song.
I like Janet Jackson, period. So that's all you
Well,
know.
I do like Janet Jackson, but
for those of you that
song,
and again, I mean, one of the benefits of the show like this is that all these fans of all these other teams are getting depths of knowledge from all of the different fan bases that they otherwise wouldn't get. So I'm gonna give you 2 nuggets on the Broncos that are going to be really interesting because our weakness has also been right tackle. I project, and I agree with Mile High Mario. He's the guy that does a lot of the body work for a lot of the Broncos players. I agree with him that I believe Calvin Anderson will likely be our starting right tackle. He really is a pretty special dude on the offensive line. He also works incredibly hard, and he's a great fit for an outside zone scheme because he's got a great combination of both size and athleticism. And that's truly what you're looking for in that kind of outside zone scheme where you need those guys to be able to move sideline to sideline as they're blocking upfield, right? And even across. So I think Anderson will likely take over that right tackle position. Denver has already seen Billy Turner, and they've seen what he can do at the right tackle position in Green Bay. I think Billy Turner, because of his size, was well suited at right tackle in colder weather. I think because Denver's a little bit that kind of hybrid environment, I still think Denver kind of sees him as that fill gap anywhere on the offensive line, whether it be left guard, right guard, or right tackle. I think they see Billy Turner as their swing offensive lineman. I don't think they. Pardon me?
Who plays center?
Can of worms. I'm about to get that in a minute.
Yeah,
So,
in
my opinion, my concern isn't necessarily the right tackle position. My concern is the offensive center, and I believe that that's actually where Graham Glasgow fits in.
Oh, okay.
Because I believe Glasgow. Well, first off, Glasgow's best offensive line statistically, in terms of his career, was at offensive center when he played in Detroit.
Well, that's not saying much, but okay.
And I mean that's where you came from. So you're only as good. You're only as good as where you ended up coming from.
When you play in Detroit, you play like merde.
Wait.
Did I say that? Did I say that correctly, Rich?
Close. You're an American. That was good enough. When
you play in Detroit, you play like merde.
Yeah. So the point being is that I actually think that our offensive line, if I'm going to kind of do what Coach, what you did and kind of go through left to right, you're going to have with Bulls, Reisner, Glasgow, Miners, and Anderson. Okay. And in my opinion, this swing guy for the Broncos this year is going to be Billy Turner. And then there's a few other guys that I'm really curious about where they're going to fit in terms of some of the other people that we brought. But I also think that Quinn Bailey might be a guy that we might keep because he's a bit of a swing tackle too. And because that tackle position is still a question mark, we might use Turner as that kind of guard fill in. And then the last guy that I think we're keeping on the line, and I mean, he may well in a zone scheme even beat out Reisner, is Natan Moody. Moody's issue is that he doesn't have long arms. And so his challenge is that in certain schemes against certain guys on the D line, it's a challenge. The problem, or the flip side of that is every single person that's ever spoken about Moody has said that he is the strongest person that they've ever met in their life.
Yeah. All dinosaurs fear the T-Rex.
Yeah, exactly. And so the kicker here is I actually think that he can really be that main guy as a guard. And I think that Reisner is in for a little bit of a battle at that position, but I do think Miners has solidified the right-hand side.
Fair. Okay.
So what do you think? So what projects out to make you think the Chiefs, the Broncos and Chargers, overcome the Kansas City's offensive line to make them the third best in the division?
I think that KC, I think what your challenge is going to be is that you have degraded your offensive weapons for Patrick Mahomes enough where he's going to need too much time in the pocket in order to let certain plays develop. And Andy Reid, in the course of his career, or just over the course of his career, has typically not adapted to bring in enough of a running game to be seen as enough of a threat. And unless Andy Reid is willing to bite the bullet, truly bite the bullet,
he bites everything else.
Yes.
Including Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, this is true. But at the end of the day, I don't think Andy Reid has shown over the course of his career that he's willing to adapt to include more of a running game in his general offensive scheme. He had McCoy there for a while, right?
In KC or in Philly?
No, in Philly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, both, right?
And
he had him in KC and in Philly.
Yeah, but my point is that was an exception to the rule, really, not necessarily his rule.
He also had Jamal Charles.
Yeah, but his typical rule is I want to pass the ball, and if I happen to have a running back, then I guess I'll use him.
Yeah. I mean, if he finds it, because otherwise you look at like the Brian Westbrook, or the guys that were more like pass catchers.
Right. So the problem is that your offensive linemen across the board will have to be able to hold up to a more lethal pass rush.
That was a good one.
And it was, yeah. I was laughing at it when you posted
it.
I grabbed it.
There's like a meme every week on my Twitter of him like calling a play, and it's just the Waffle House menu. It's great.
Well, that's not true, because Reid is on record saying that his vice is burgers.
Oh yeah,
like he's literally been quite consistent in that, right? So, I mean, if anything, you'd think it would be
Waffle House makes a burger.
Wendy's or something,
right.
Like
right. Oh, Red Robin, maybe.
Yeah. So that's really where I'm at with the offensive linemen, and I think that you're going to see some really interesting things in Denver this year, because I think that our player personnel better fits the offensive scheme we're running, and in my opinion, that makes a difference. Now, do I think we're perfect? No. Do I think we're going to have struggles? Yes. Do I think you're going to see certain players, if they don't move certain guys around? Yeah, I think that'll be a problem.
I like Waffle House.
I love Waffle House. But go ahead though.
So I do think that'll be a problem. But guys, we're coming right up on time here on this podcast, and we've had some awesome comments. I really love the fact that we have so many of you joining us live this evening. If you have additional topics, questions, comments, please leave them below in the respective channels that you are watching this show on. And please also go ahead and, Captain, I got you. If you could please go ahead and like each one of these videos. YouTube has a really cool algorithm that if you like that video, we get boosted in all of people's suggestions. So for other Broncos, Chargers, Chiefs, and Raiders fans, when they see those likes, they see this video and they are more likely to watch us, join us all together, and we can all have a great show. Captain, over to you, and then we'll sign out.
I just wanted to say, and I like the comments about, boy, wouldn't it be great if we can get all of these chats in the same chat room at the same time? Yeah. I got a way to do that, and it's called multiverse. Yeah, Marvel, that stuff there. No, put it on a couple windows. Put all this. Watch the show. Put the volume on one. Watch the show on various channels on Twitter as well as YouTube, and I know it takes a little bit of an effort, I know, but this way you will be able to have all the comments at the same time. Plus, it gives us all a boost because you're watching us 3 times, but we're all getting credit for it as well. And Rich was saying, we love you, and I mean that. I love everybody here. I got people that are watching from Coach Defense's show that come on my show just to laugh at me, which is wonderful but at least I got them over there doing the show now. And that's fantastic. But there you go. We enjoy everybody that's out there. I really mean that. And and thank you for pulling that up. That's a question I think would probably be served on another show because we're at the end of this.
I agree.
One,
I love it.
0-6. We'll keep that in mind for you there.
Yeah,
I love it.
I come back next week
as well.
Let's bring that in next week. I love that question. I absolutely love that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. I have a little nugget that I pulled out of our chat in this particular conversation that let's name, maybe next week, let's name one thing that another team in the division concerns us. Because we alluded to the idea that McDaniels might be better in the second go around. That might be a concern. So, like, hypothetically, I might say what concerns me about the Chiefs is that they might not have a drop off in offense like we think. That might be a concern for me. So,
get the Jewish guy in there.
Yeah. So something.
No, I love that. And guys, this is the benefit of having all of us from all these different. First off, having all of you join us. And the benefit of all of us with our different team perspectives, we're able to pull these types of topics together. And that's what makes the Wild Wild West unique and different. With that in mind, guys, we are definitely now running even further in on time. And we want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. For any of you who want more and more people here in the chat, you want a more robust chat, and you want us to really go deep in some of these topics, please share, comment, and subscribe to all of our channels. It helps us a lot. I don't think you guys know how much, but it really, truly does. And we're going to want all of your comments on Twitter. We're going to want all your comments on all of our different YouTube channels. And each and every one of us has something different that shows up at different times of the week. And guys, until next Wednesday, see you next time.